Good morning, friends. My name is Sean Gainey. It's good to see you all here today. Welcome to all our friends on Zoom. I'd like to remind everyone to turn off your cell phones, or at least turn off the Wi-Fi to help with the connection for all of our friends joining us on Zoom. Please stand as you're able, and we will start with the song Worship and Song number 275, We Worship God in Many Ways.
We have another tune arranged by the father of music education in the United States, Lowell Mason.
There's a man named Hank Green who is a podcaster, a science communicator. He's involved in a lot of things. And
I went to his brother's, John Green's speak on Friday.
On just this past Friday?
Yeah, at Radford Town in Bloomington.
In Bloomington, wow, how timely. Great. So yeah, Hank Green and his brother both do a lot of interesting science communication, have a lot of interesting thoughts on life. And I saw this quote from him a couple weeks ago. It's a tweet that he said, "I once asked a friend of mine who is very fit whether it was possible for me to get very fit. He was like, oh sure, it just needs to be one of your top 3 priorities. And that was very clarifying to me. I can be a little fit if it's my 10th priority, and that's doable." I have a twin sister, and growing up as a twin, comparisons are kind of an inevitable part of conversation. And I know there's some irony in me saying this, but my sister is a lot more prone to making comparisons than I am. But I sent her this tweet because I thought it was a really interesting perspective both on comparisons and on evaluating yourself and what your priorities are. If you see someone who's really fit, you can take joy in realizing that they are matching one of their priorities in their life, and at the same time recognize that it's maybe not as high a priority for you, and as long as you're meeting where it is for you, then you're doing what you need to do. And that helps you both find joy in others. It can help you find compassion for others. Sticking with the fitness, if you know someone who wants to be physically fit but has some barrier in them achieving that goal, then you can sympathize with them more for it. And I think it's also really helpful for taking stock of your own life and looking at what your actions are saying about what your priorities are, and if you want something else to be more of a priority in your life, you can pause to consider if you're really spending the time that you want to match your priorities. So I would just invite you all to think about what you see in the priorities of your friends around you, people who are close to you, and maybe feel some empathy for what they're trying to accomplish in their lives, and take stock of your own lives and what your priorities are and how you're meeting your own needs in that way. It's time for community sharing now, so I'd like to invite our friends on Zoom to share any announcements they have, if anyone on Zoom wants to speak up for any announcements.
This is Sarah Lookabill, and our women's group will be meeting tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in the dining room, and anyone who wants to come is welcome to join us, and there will be something to eat, so that's always a plus. Thanks.
If that's all from Zoom, I'd like to open it up to announcements for friends present at the meeting.
And if you have,
If you have any announcement, just say your name for people on Zoom.
This is Linda Bryant. I'm the clerk of nominating committee, and we are meeting this week to determine new members of committees for the coming year. If you are interested in a specific committee, if you're a clerk of a committee and have someone you'd like to have on your committee, now is the time. We have 3 openings on outreach, 1 on trustees, 1 on finance. I think there's something else, but I'm not thinking of it. We filled the ones on peace and social justice. That's it. Please see me or anyone on the nominating committee. That's Joanne Farrington, Joanne Gulley, Lynn Adams, and Jan Baker, and Lee Comer, but he's not here. Thank you.
I want to, I'm going to refer part of this to Jackson, wherever he's hiding. There he is. Next week we're having a special speaker, but he's the one that arranged it, so I'm going to let him tell you about that. She'll be here for chat room and for worship. So I'm going to let him tell you about that. The other thing that we need to know today is that Ministry and Council, I want to have a very brief 5 to 10 minute meeting in the library after worship. So, Ministry and Council.
I'm actually going to come up here. I have visuals. I'm Joanne Gulley, and I am one of the co-clerks of Outreach. And as you know, we always have our food baskets, and we've always called those the Kunot food baskets. Well, we've changed our definition, because there are a lot of people that need to be fed. So these are our Feed the Hungry baskets. If the government shutdown continues, SNAP benefits will end. So that's going to affect a lot of people. So you folks are so generous that we could not feed the hungry the way that we do if it were not for your help. And we are so grateful for that. To make it easier for you, I have, because sometimes when you're standing in the grocery store thinking, oh, boy, I don't know what to buy to help the most, I have a handout. And I'm going to put these on the table. It's both food items and non-food items. So hopefully that will help. The other thing that I want to pass along, we have been trying to get a hold of Mabel, who is at Kunot. We have not been able to get a hold of her. Our current thought is that we will be doing help with Thanksgiving baskets again, but we haven't been able to get in touch with her yet, so we will keep you all in the loop on that. So, but just keep doing your good work. It makes a huge difference, and thank you.
see that. I just kicked Jackson out of the way. Thanks, Jackson. So this is Laura Essex on behalf of Funding the Future Committee. We need all your help to figure out how to spend some money. So there's a board out in the front foyer. Please fill that up with comments, suggestions, any sort of thoughts you have on how we can best use our funds from the sale of the property for the old meeting house. Thank you.
Hello, friends. This is Jackson. I've got a couple of announcements, and the first one goes for Phil and I both. Our contact information is on the back of all of the Sunday morning pamphlets. So if you ever have a question or want to reach out or chat or have a coffee, Phil and I are available to you. The second announcement, Charles is having heart surgery tomorrow, and I'm going to pay him a visit after meeting, and we're putting together a card for him. So this will be floating around the meeting house during worship today. So if you would, please sign it, and I will be taking that over to Charles after meeting. And the third announcement is next Sunday, Emily Provence, who is a renowned public minister amongst friends, is coming to Fairfield. And she will be here for our chat room, where she will be talking about the life cycle of Quaker meetings and how that relates to Fairfield's 200th anniversary next year. And she will be bringing a message on the theme of way opening. So please come out next Sunday if you can. Thank you, friends.
10 o'clock.
Let us pray. Oh God, we are grateful that in a world with indecency, there are so many more people acting with decency and kindness. We are grateful that in a world of hate, there are so many more committed to love. That in a world of selfishness, there are so many more acting with gratitude and generosity and fullness of spirit. We are grateful, O God, for every good voice countering that which would demand we be lesser than we can be. That in the midst of our challenges, there are so many more rising to the challenges of this hour, acting with bravery and courage, goodness and good humor. Give us always, O God, eyes to see the good at work, lest we grow discouraged and think ourselves alone. For the power of goodness, we are grateful this day. Amen. Well, Joanne and I should have stood during Joys and Concerns to share our joy, which was spending the week with our new grand-twins. Quite frankly, I'm surprised Joanne didn't stand and say something about that. That's kind of a grandmother's duty, so.
I failed again.
But it was very nice. We had a wonderful week visiting our new grandchildren. It was fall break down there. So kids were out in full force, riding their bicycles up and down the streets and playing football in the side yards. And the family next door to where Sam and Kelsey live homeschools their 5 children, which back when I was a kid was called truancy and was against the law. 5 children are a lot of kids these days, but when I was growing up, and perhaps when you were growing up too, 5 children wasn't all that uncommon. I remember this one family down the street from us had 7 kids in 6 years, born, as Garrison Keillor says, 9 months and 10 minutes apart. One day I was walking home from school with my brothers, and one of the kids, not yet in school, ran out of their little house and announced to his siblings that while helping their mother clean their house, he had found a dime in the couch cushions. And a big fight broke out over that dime. They were going at it hammer and tong. I'd never seen anything like it. I had quarreled with my siblings, but never over a dime, and never punching and kicking like they were. If I wanted a dime, I asked my parents, and they'd give me a little job and pay me a dime. And though I lacked the understanding and ability to articulate what I had seen, years later, while studying poverty in college, the professor mentioned the correlation between poverty, despair, and crime. And I thought of those children fighting over that one thin dime, and I realized that what I had witnessed that day was desperation. We've been hearing a lot these past several years about making America great again, causing me to think more deeply about the characteristics of national greatness. What do flourishing nations do that failing nations don't? What are the differences between flourishing and failing nations? The last time I spoke, I talked about the things we put in closets, the people we shut away, the uncomfortable topics we hide from the light of day. I said healthy nations acknowledge and address their historic shortcomings. They don't ignore the shadow side of their history. They don't lock it away and try to put it out of mind or keep others from seeing it. They're very wide open about their past failings. This morning, I want to talk about why flourishing nations should endeavor to ensure all their citizens have access to the resources they need to thrive, including adequate housing, appropriate nutrition, meaningful employment, and, as my grandmother Norma used to say, a little left over for the nicer things. For I have seen, and I'm sure you have too, the squalor of poverty and its toll on the human spirit. We have seen crimes born of economic desperation, of families strained and broken by financial stress. And we all know enough and read enough to realize it does not have to be this way. That other nations have created economies that serve all their citizens and not just a lucky few. We know America does not lack the resources to create such a nation, We lack only the will, the political courage, and it must be said, perhaps even the decency to ensure the well-being of our fellow citizens. In 2021, at the height of the COVID epidemic, the federal government expanded the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit, reducing child poverty in the United States by half. Just to adjust two programs, lifting more than 2 million children above the poverty line. But that same year, a wealthy business owner I know, whose profits soared during the pandemic, received a $500,000 loan from the federal government, which was ultimately forgiven. Rather than sharing the money with his employees, which was a provision of the Payroll Protection Act, he used the money to start a classic car collection. When I spoke with him about doing the same for those Americans living in poverty, of directing resources that way, he accused me of being a socialist. Flourishing nations share their national wealth. Failing nations funnel wealth to their richest citizens. This is the heart of our challenge today. When the wealthy control the narrative, when the rich are given a voice and the poor are not, any effort to help the poor is described in negative terms. It is socialism or communism. We are told government largesse encourages laziness, that it stifles incentive and creativity. But when the rich are given help, it turns out we are rewarding hard work, permitting money to trickle down, incentivizing prosperity, and encouraging investment. I am not opposed to wealth, but I am opposed to governments that reward the wealthy and punish the poor. Just as I am opposed to religions that sanctify the wealthy and demonize the poor. I am opposed to economic and political systems that grind the poor into dust while hastening to help the affluent and well-connected. It is not democratic, it is not kind, and it is not Christian. I am opposed to that mindset which allows the prosperous to neglect the poor. There is in our nation an epidemic of fear contaminating so many of us that even in the midst of much, we permit our hearts to harden, our worries to multiply, until the spirit of generosity, once robust within us, becomes calcified and cold. This disease, and I know of no other word to describe it, this disease of fear first leads to personal stinginess, which creates a climate of cultural greed, culminating in patterns of national selfishness draped in the language of morality, so that even as we become more selfish, we simultaneously feel more noble and virtuous. The great Hoosier Eugene Debs said, "In every age, It has been the tyrant, the oppressor, and the exploiter who has wrapped himself in the cloak of patriotism or religion or both to deceive and overawe the people. The antidote to cultural greed and degrading poverty is the witness of the church. That's why we're here. We're the antidote. The witness of a church that has not forgotten its sacred responsibility to care for the least of these. Instead, so many in today's church are in the grip of Christian nationalism, which has forgotten that its life and power are found in generosity, not in wealth. When spiritual amnesia is rampant, we are too easily deceived and overawed, too likely to worship at the altar of earthly power and treasure. John, just last week during our meeting for worship, you stood and spoke of your desire to see more children here at Fairfield. As one who enjoys the company of children, as one who was once a child, I share John's desire. But this week I took a drive in my town to the two largest churches that are teeming with children. And I know those churches because they've been in my town all my life. And I know well the people in them. I know the pastors, and I know what is preached and taught and said in those churches. And I know that on a regular basis, the people in those churches support policies that are decimating our nation's children. Cutting food assistance, separating families, wreaking havoc on education and opportunities for young people. And I would love nothing more than to see this meeting filled with people of all ages. But I would treasure even more than that, seeing our meeting devoted to the well-being of all people, unswervingly committed to human dignity and opportunity, especially for those who have been brutalized by economic machinations that elevate the few and cast down the many. Because I know that those who fight over a dime today will fight over food tomorrow. So let this be our priority here, to always in every moment be like Jesus. To be like Jesus, who gathered the poor to him, who took bread, broke it, gave thanks, and fed the multitude until all were satisfied. That isn't communism. That isn't socialism. That is the heart of our Christian Quaker faith.
You would think, being married to Philip, I would know what he's speaking about. But a lot of times I don't. But what he spoke on this morning ties right into a tiny article that I've been carrying in my wallet this week. It's a tiny love story from the New York Times. It's called Barefoot Sermon in Blue Flannel. We met God on a sidewalk on a crisp fall morning. His feet were bare, his body wrapped in a blue flannel sheet. My husband and I were helping serve hot breakfast on paper plates, 207 in all that day. I lifted the 138th plate and said softly, offering, "Would you like some more eggs, sir?" He lifted his weary eyes, tender as dawn, and with bruised lips whispered, "No, thank you. There are others that still need to eat." In his hunger, he showed us what love is: quiet, selfless, enduring, and boundless.
Paula Cardoza-Jones. The terms socialist and socialism have outgrown any utility. They are used only as a label to insult and to cut off any discussion of the underlying issues. We need to banish the terms and talk only about what services the government should provide to the public and how to fund them.
Karen O'Brien. I want to give a thought to the thousands of federal employees across the country who've been let go without an idea of what they can come back to or if they'll ever come back. It occurred to me long ago that once someone loses their income, they also lose their voice in the United States. So they have no way of telling us their story. And we can only imagine what it's like to be living in Washington, D.C., and scrambling to find housing and find your community in Washington, D.C., and all of a sudden not having an income. We need to keep those folks in mind, and hopefully we can find a way to give them a voice. Maybe we can reach out to people who are unemployed at this point and find out if they can tell us what their life is like without a job. Because I think our nation needs to hear that side of what's going on.
Jackson Napier. In the feeding of the multitudes in Mark, it's getting late in the day, and Jesus and the disciples are looking out at the crowd. And the disciples say, "Send the people away." To which Jesus says, "Give them something to eat." And to whittle their response down to a nub, they say that would take 8 months of wages. Are we going to spend that much and give them something to eat?
This is Linda Lassiter. I just feel the need to say this. Just step out and do it. there's, I'm active in the Democratic Party in the county, and one of our basic needs is to have precinct chairs get out amongst the people in their precincts and talk to them and build a relationship and for the common good. We have excellent people on that committee, and they are completely stuck because they are fretting over where to put the documents that they want written about this committee. Do we put it on a Google Doc? Which Google Drive? I hate Google Docs. I want to do it somewhere else. This has been going on for months. I'm the chair of the Democratic Party in Hendricks County. I have never been a political person. I have never run for office. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. There was a necessity, there was a need to fill, so I took the step, and I'm doing it. We just have to get out of our own way. We have to just take the step, take the action. It's in our hearts, all of this good, all of these wonderful things that need to be done, that need to be thought about, that need to be related, that need to be talked about. They're in our hearts. We have to get them out of our hearts, transfer it to our feet, and just do it.
Friends, let us stand together and sing hymn number 304, A Song of Peace. And as we do that, if we could have some volunteers to distribute the food baskets.
For
Chris, you got me thinking. Ever since last week, I believe it was, when you announced the blackboard there by the door to write what we ought to do with our windfall from the sale of the property on which our old meeting house sat for a roundabout. That's just surprise money, folks. We never counted on that. We never set our hopes on it, never imagined it would happen. That's just found money for us, and it's a lot. It's given us more money than we have ever had, and it is a test of our faith. I want to walk out there and write 4 things on that board. Feed the hungry, house the homeless, clothe the naked, love the lonely. Figure out how we can do that together. How we can use that money for good instead of as a balm to soothe our fears and worries. Our future, the future of this meeting, depends always upon our generosity, our willingness and ability to care for those who have less than ourselves. So this week, think about that. Think about that, about what kind of meeting and what kind of community we want and need and are called to be. Turn and greet friends.